Hi, my name is Paige Naranjo, and I will be doing the oral briefing on the Sutherland Springs, Texas mass church shooting. A little bit of background on this incident is this event was an event that caught America, as well as the community of Sutherland Springs, Texas, completely off guard. On November 5th, 2017, a small Baptist church in Sutherland Springs, Texas, was conducting their regular service, and little did they know that within moments after service had began, a man would walk through the church doors, opening fire on more than 26 people. According to the New York Times, the suspect was a 26-year-old Caucasian male whose name was later identified as Devin Patrick Kelly. Among the 26 that he killed on that November morning, he too was also found dead. He injured more than 20 other individuals and left a community with a loss of words and families without their loved ones. Devin Kelly was in the Air Force before being discharged for misconducted behavior in 2014 and lived about 30 miles away from the church in which he opened fire in. Mr. Kelly grew up in the New Braunfels in his parents' almost $1 million home, according to New York Times reporter David Montgomery. Mr. Kelly was said to have been married a couple of different times, only having one child, later finding out it was a stepchild. The reports from this mass shooting says that eyewitnesses saw Devin Kelly stop at a gas station across from the church several minutes before getting in his car and driving across the way to the church parking lot. He was said to have been wearing black tactical gear, multiple rounds of ammunition, and a ballistic vest, says New York Times reporter Christopher Malee. On the morning of November 5th, 2017, Devin Patrick Kelly woke up with one thing in mind, and that is to take out as many innocent lives as he could. And he accomplished just that. The Wilson County Sheriff's Office, as well as the Texas Rangers, were the immediate law enforcement that were at the scene first and stayed there throughout this investigation, along with medical personnel. The agency did, in fact, identify key stakeholders involved in this tragic event, and I will just list a few. President Donald Trump, who was, in fact, overseas during the time of the shooting. Wilson County Sheriff, specifically Sheriff Tactic. He was there from beginning to end. Never really left unless it was to sleep and come right back. Guadalupe County Sheriff, and the only reason why they were involved and introduced was because after Devin Kelly opened fire on the First Baptist Church, he took off in his car and ended up in a ditch in the next county over, which was the Guadalupe County Sheriff, and that was the last crime scene that they actually concluded with. Texas DPS, Department of Public Security Troopers. Representative Henry Cuellar, he was a Texas congressman who was heavily involved in the investigation and in this investigation. Governor Greg Abbott of Texas. Wilson County Commissioner Albert Gomez Jr., the District Attorney of Stockdale, Texas, which is where they held a lot of the press conference and stuff because the community of Wilson County was just too small. And so Sutherland Springs, so they moved it to Stockdale. And Stockdale, Texas, Wilson County, Audrey Lewis was their DA, or is their DA, Mayor of Stockdale, Texas, and the FBI, as well as Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Each one of these key stakeholders did a very good job communicating with the public as to what was going on and giving as much information as they possibly could at that particular time. Governor Abbott introduced and thanked each key stakeholder that was present for the CNN press conference being held in Stockdale, Texas, for the first update from the event since it had occurred. The governor, district attorney, sheriff of Wilson County, as well as many others, gave a quick update from their department organizations as to what their role was in this investigation and what their hopeful outcome would be. They each reminded the press and public of what not to do and what not to say at this point in time in this investigation. The way that the agency worked with the media in putting out or sharing public information was astounding. The agency worked really well with the media in sharing that information and in the public, or to the public, because they knew how severe and sensitive this incident was. For Sutherland Springs, Texas, as a small community as it is, this hit close to home, and for some, completely devastating their families. Medical personnel, all the way up to The governor of the state of Texas felt compassion for those who had lost loved ones that day, so they wanted to keep the community informed as best as they could. The effectiveness of the sharing of information of this event was timely and accurate. The public was always informed with the latest information and felt included. The agency's interaction with social media in this event, or during this event, was little to none as far as informing the public of any updates. Social media was utilized as a compassionate tool for the community to use and to see. For example, the hashtagging, this modern symbol of pray for Texas, pray for Sutherland Springs, just hashtags of encouragement and support, letting them know that Sutherland Springs was not alone in this chaos and tragic incident, that America was behind them, the community around them. Maybe they were in different cities or different parts of Texas. They wanted this hashtag of pray for Sutherland, Texas, or Sutherland Springs, pray for Texas. It just spread like wildfire. There was a few tweets from Twitter, social media site Twitter, from the Texas Department of Public Safety that just simply put a quick tweet out of what actually happened. Once again, this social media site was also used or only used as a compassionate tool for the community and for those who mourn the loss of a victim of this horrible tragedy. If anything, the social media helped bring awareness to others that had no idea what was going on, and to those who knew what was going on but were too far away. During this research, I was not under the impression that the agency had a plan in place as of yet when the first briefing happened, only hours after the event took place. It seemed to be very professional, but not a necessary plan was being delegated or implemented at the time. One thing that kept being said was that the investigation is underway, and as new information arises, the agency wanted to inform the victims' families first, so that they do not find out about it on social media or any information regarding their family members or what all took place on social media or the media first. The district attorney, Audrey Lewis, mentioned that they want to really preserve the crime scene and all that it entails to ensure accurate information being relayed to the victims' families as well as the public. She also mentioned that all local agencies as well as federal and state agencies are all working very hard and very diligently with one another to gather information and answers for everyone. As far as who will conduct the briefs moving forward, nothing was said about this matter. The more research I conducted, the more I realized that everyone took part in keeping the public well informed. The communication response to the crisis integrated with the local city government was very successful and very helpful all the way around, as they would back one another in information given out to the public in a timely and orderly fashion. The agency did a very good job in their communication tactics. In terms of best practices of their communication plan, I would say they collaborated a while in between press conferences and working this investigation to lay out a foundational approach to the public when relaying information to the public and the victims' families. At the beginning of the crisis, when the media started coming out hours after this tragic event, the main priority was the victims' families, being that they were the ones dealing with the loss of life and injuries to their loved ones. Towards the evening of November 5th, 2017, this foundational plan came about and could visibly be seen through the briefings that were given from the sheriff of Wilson County as well as other leadership within that community. The foundation was set on the communication plan, and the information that could be given was ran through a process of time and leadership looking into facts, so that when the information was given to the public, it was timely and accurate. The agency's biggest mindset was to make sure that any and all information was correct. Texas Department of Public Safety even reiterated this very fact. He mentioned in one of his briefings that he understands we all want answers, but in order to gain those answers, this process will be very crucial and will take time. The governor, Greg Abbott, did a phenomenal job in staying on task when answering questions from the press conference, letting media and the public know that they will not be releasing any information on the suspect, the victims, or anything pertaining to the crime scene unless they have let the victims' families know first, and as long as they know for 100% fact that the information is accurate in every way. The governor was very honest when saying they want this crime scene to be a very thorough one. Best practices when dealing with a communication plan is having a plan in place before crisis occurs. As I watched and heard many eyewitnesses, I kept hearing the same thing. This is just a small community. And I also heard we would have never expected anything to happen in such a small town as this one. This right here lets me know that this community was not prepared in any way, shape, or form. And nowadays, as sad as it is to say, churches have certain individuals on the lookout for crisis situations just like this one. Ushers, greeters, and even parking lot ministry teams have a plan in place, as they are the first ones to spot anyone coming in those church doors or the parking lot. These plans are put in place so that we can prevent crisis situations from getting as devastating and detrimental as the Sutherland Springs, Texas shooting. The agency fostered a sense of trust in how they communicated with the public, and it was obvious because everyone that was interviewed through this investigation was appreciative and grateful for that. Appreciative and grateful that the Wilson County Sheriff's Department, as well as other law enforcement agencies, were still in the area trying to unfold evidence from this horrific incident and ensure that it never happens again. One reporter even mentioned that as a media person, he noticed that even at the first press conference, people from the community were coming in and providing food and water for the reporters and first responders as they were on site, because that's just how they showed their appreciation, and that they were grateful and thankful for everything that everyone was doing for them and their community and their loved ones and their friends. The First Baptist Church was a generational church, so on Sundays it was the norm to go to that church. When the first responders in the Sheriff's Department responded to that 911 call that particular day, they immediately knew it was going to be their family members, friends, neighbors, and loved ones. This wasn't just another 911 call to people they didn't know. It was something more intimate, too close to home. On-site staff was well prepared every time they gave an update. They made it a priority to keep everyone up to date with any bit of information they gained. Gathering research from this event, it was evident that the trust was there from the very beginning. The community of Sutherland Springs, Texas might have been small, but they sure were strong. The very night this tragedy happened, the church up the street had a candlelight vigil for all the victims and their families. Their friendships, their love, and their faith really bonded them together and helped them all get through this rough time. As believers of Christ, when we are in a state of crisis or distress, we cling to what we know, our first love, Jesus Christ. Psalms 25:21, let integrity and uprightness preserve me, for I wait for you. If ever we become in a position where we are leading people, specifically people in crisis, this is a great scripture to hold on to, because it prompts our hearts to yield to the Lord and wait and listen for his guidance and direction. We are nothing without the Lord. So when leading, it is a must that we wait on him. Another biblical perspective that could be integrated into information sharing is the scripture found in Proverbs 13:17. A wicked messenger falls not into trouble, but a faithful ambassador brings health. As public information is being relayed to the community, law enforcement agencies must be careful of the accuracy and truthfulness of their information they are giving out. They never want to mislead anyone, because that is how public trust then fails. Believers are called to fulfill the Great Commission, and we must uphold the standard, especially in times of crisis and need. Whether that be we are there for the brokenhearted, or to be a lending hand to someone picking up the broken pieces of their home. Crisis can mean so many different things to every person, and what better opportunity for Christians to be there in that time. The people of Sutherland Springs, Texas were devastated, but God's faithfulness and peace brought understanding to the victims' families as well as the community. Yes, this was a tragic event, but God has a reason and a plan for everything. Genesis 50:20, I believe, says, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Thank you.